please notice the instructions on the top of this worksheet today, okay? Please notice the instructions. Identify variables, write a system of equations, excuse me, that represents each situation, solve the equations, show your work, and label your answer, okay? I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by all of that so that you don't have any questions at all, or hopefully not have any questions at all about how to do these problems. Does that make sense? How to get all of the credit for all of your work. Yes? Okay. So let's start off by looking at number 1. Okay? Jared's music store receives shipments of recorders and harmonicas. A shipment of 5 recorders and 4 harmonicas costs $62. A shipment of 10 recorders and 3 harmonicas costs $84. Find the cost of a recorder and the cost of a harmonica. So the first thing we have to do is identify variables. Now, sometimes people struggle with identifying variables, okay? And for me, the best way to tell you about how to figure out which is your variables is to look at the last question or statement. So the last sentence of the problem, go there, okay? If you'll go there, that will tell you what your variables should be. So if we go to this question, it says find the cost of a recorder and the cost of a harmonica. Okay? So what do you think our variables should be? Cost of recorder and a cost of harmonica, right? It seems obvious when I say it like that, but is that something you think you might struggle with? It's possible, right? So look at the last sentence, whether it be a statement or a question. Look at the last sentence, and if it's not there, maybe look one question up or something like that, right? There's going to be a statement in there somewhere that tells you what your variables should be, okay? So now, do we want to use X and Y, or do we want to use what's called meaningful variables? Different people like different things, and it's usually about half and half. So I'm going to do one example, like the first example one way, and the second example the second way, just so you can see, okay? What do I mean by meaningful variables? So in this particular problem, I would be using R and H, right? Those are meaningful variables. So we can totally use X and Y, or we can use R and H. Either one is fine with me. Which one do you want to use for this problem? X and Y. Okay, we're going to use X and Y for this problem. Okay? X equals, so what does X equal again? I'm okay just writing recorders as long as you realize it's actually the cost of the recorder, right? And what's Y equal? Harmonica. Okay? So that is what I mean by identify variables. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, good. Now, we need to write our system of equations. Okay? Any ideas? So you literally took this sentence in English and made it a sentence in math? Excellent. 5 recorders, X plus 4 harmonicas equals 62. Wait, how many variables do I have? Oh, 2 variables, so how many equations should I have? Oh, 2, at least 2, okay? So what do you think the second equation might be then? Perfect. Now, here's what we have to think about. I know how much you love solving these with matrices, with the calculator, right? I know how much you love that, right? But you're still responsible for knowing substitution and elimination, okay? So I'm going to ask you, on the homework problems I assign you tonight, you need to choose at least one that you do elimination on. And you need to choose at least one that you do substitution on. And you need to choose at least one that you do matrices on. Okay? So when I come to check your work on Monday, I'm going to ask you to point to the 3 that you chose. Obviously, I don't care which one is which. We're going to talk on this problem in particular, like what would be a wise choice, right? How to decide which one is the best way to use, right? But you're going to have to point to 3 specific of your 8 to say, look, I did this one with the substitution, this one elimination, and this one with the matrix. The rest of them can all be matrices if you want. If you want, all right? Calculator, yes, sir. Okay? So let's talk about this one, okay? if matrix wasn't your first choice, right? If I said that's not allowed, how would you choose to solve this one? Would you choose elimination or would you choose substitution? Why would you choose elimination on this one? Right, we could cancel out the x's really easily, right? Can I show you why you would not want to choose substitution? Right? That'll help you get to thinking about why you maybe would choose substitution, right? Okay. Now, substitution means I'm going to take one of the variables and solve for it, right? Well, if I choose this x, I'm going to have to divide everything by what? 5. Well, that's a fraction and that's a fraction. I would have to divide everything. If I'm solving for this y, I'd have to divide everything by 4, right? Fraction. I don't think that's a fraction. Maybe it's a fraction. It is a fraction? It is a fraction. Okay? If I solve for this x, I have to divide everything by 10. Fraction, fraction. If I solve for this y, I have to divide everything by 3. Fraction, not a fraction. But still fractions every single time, right? And you already told me that you would really rather avoid fractions if you can help it, right? Now, there's sometimes we can't help it and we need to deal with it and put our big boy pants on and go, right? Okay? But we are given a choice this time, okay? So I'm saying let's take matrix out for just a second. What would be our choice between substitution and elimination? That would probably be the better choice, right? And because this only has 2 variables, we could get our elimination out of the way quick. Are you okay with that? Okay. So let's solve this one with elimination. So what I remember you saying a minute ago is if we're going to solve it with elimination, we should multiply the top one by -2, right? Okay. So I'm going to write that right over here, right beside it. So -10x minus 8y equals -124. Okay so far? Okay, now what? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and write it just so we can see it, just so it's like visually closer together. Are you okay with that? Do you have to do this? No. So -10x and 10x, 0. -8y and +3y, -5y equals, what do we get here? -40. Now, he's really good at doing math in his head, and so sometimes you guys wait for him to answer, and that's not good, right? So he's going to sometimes not answer so quickly, and you guys who struggle doing math fast, you're okay, right? You can grab your calculator and do the subtraction in your calculator, or you can use your head and think of it a little slower, and that is okay, all right? So now if -5y equals -40, if I divide both sides by -5, y equals what? 8. Now, do you guys see a problem I'm having? And it's not really a problem per se, but the size of my writing, there's nothing wrong with it, right? Some of you guys write the same size as I do, right? But what's happening right here? I'm out of room, aren't I? Okay? So is it okay if like you do all your work on a separate piece of paper and maybe write your answers on this paper or something like that? Or just have everything on another piece of paper? Yeah, that's totally fine as long as you keep them together, right? Okay? Any questions about that? So now that I know why, what do I do? Plug it in. Where do you want to plug it in? So right here? That works for me? 10x plus 3 times 8 equals 84. So 10x plus 24 equals 84, right? And then I have to subtract 24 from both sides. So 10x equals 60. Yes, ma'am. So if I divide both sides by 10, x equals 6. Now, this is a trick. I'm warning you about it beforehand. Okay? How do I write my answer? Not this time, right? Not this time. This time, it's some words asking us to question, and to answer it, we need to answer the question, right? Ordered pair makes sense when there's just a bunch of numbers and we're just solving the system, right? But once we put words in it, once it's a word problem or a story problem or whatever you want to call this, once it's a question asking us for an answer, we need to answer the question, okay? So what answers the question here? Well, so it costs, let's see, X is a recorder, so $6 for a recorder and $8 for a harmonica. So what do you notice about our answer? It is a sentence with a capital letter at the beginning and punctuation at the end. Hopefully correct grammar and spelling all the way throughout. Okay? I know this is math class, but we still need to be able to write a sentence in math class, right? Okay? And if you'll remember what I told you at the beginning of the year, I am a certified English teacher. So I can help you with sentences and other stuff. No, because it's notes. But think about this, okay? What does the instruction say right here? Label your answer. Could you just put it costs $6 for a recorder and $8 for a harmonica? No, because that doesn't tell us anything, right? $6 what? $6? 6 dogs? I don't know how much a recorder costs, right? We have to label our answer. So that's in the instructions. That's what that means, is make sure you have a label with your answer in your sentence, okay? So just to be clear, identify variables. That's right here. I literally write what variable I'm using and what word goes with that, okay? Write your system. That's right here. I wrote my system. I solved it and showed my work, all of this, and then label your answer. You write your labels in your sentence. Does that make sense? Okay. Can we please look at number 5 together? Okay. Let's look at number 5 together. Jordan makes tables and chairs. Each chair requires 4 feet of oak and 3 feet of pine, while each table requires 8 feet of oak and 2 feet of pine. He has 52 feet of oak and 23 feet of pine. How many chairs and tables can he build? Where am I looking first? I got to identify my variables, and where do I look for that? Last sentence, okay? How many chairs and tables can he build? So what should my variables be? Chairs and tables. Now, last time we used X and Y, okay? Are you okay with this time trying out meaningful variables? If we do that, what are my variables that I'm going to use? So C for chairs, the number of chairs, right? And T for the number of tables. Everybody okay with that? Now, I purposely wrote my T like this with like a little curve on the end. Why? So it doesn't look like a plus sign. Okay, so if you're going to use a T as a variable because it means something in the problem, differentiate how you write your T's with your plus signs. Okay, so now write a system of equations, right? Now this one's not as straightforward as the last one, is it? Because some of you want to write 4O plus 3P equals something, right? Except O and P are not our variables, are they? C and T, chairs and tables, are our variables. So we've got to figure out what kind of equations we need to write here. Okay? Any ideas? What else do we know besides chairs and tables? We do know some stuff about oak and pine, don't we? And in fact, we know how much total oak and how much total pine we have, right? So does that give you some sort of clue that maybe one of your equations needs to be all about oak and the other one needs to be all about pine? Okay, so what's our first equation if it's all about oak? What about a chair with oak? So 4C, because we're talking about oak. What about a table? It's what? 8? 8T equals what? 52. You see how this whole equation is about oak? 4 feet of oak for a chair and 8 feet of oak for a table with a total of 52 feet of oak. So if this is the equation for oak, what does the equation for pine look like? 3C plus 2T equals 23. Does everybody understand where both of those equations came from? This equation is all about oak. This equation right here is all about pine. Okay? Now that we've solved it, now that we've written it, we need to solve it. How do you think we ought to solve this? Would this be a good choice for substitution? Well, if I try to solve for this C, actually most people would try to solve for this T first, right? Because it's the smallest fraction, dividing by 2, right? Well, so then they would go to this one. Well, let me rephrase that. I would go to this one, right? Except I'm dividing by 3, so fraction. So then I would check this out, divide by 4. That's a whole number. Ooh, that's a whole number too. So could we solve this equation for C and do substitution? Okay, so if I solve that for C, I would need to subtract 8T from both sides, right? So 4C equals 52 minus 8T. And then to solve for C, what would I need to do? Divide everything by 4. So C equals 13 minus 2T. Got it? Now what do I do with this? So here, I need to plug it right in there, right? So 3 times what I know C equals, which is 13 minus 2T plus 2T equals 23. Distribute. So 39 minus 6T plus 2T equals 23. I'm going to combine these two T terms. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 39 while I'm at it. Because when I do that, I get negative 4T equals negative 16, right? Everybody okay so far? And if I divide both sides by negative 4, I get T equals. Yeah, I think it should be positive 4 because we've got a negative 16 and a negative 4, right? You're good. No, you're good. So what should I do with this T equals 4? Where? Well, I mean, you can. I would go right here. Why would I go right there? C is already solved for, isn't it? So C is going to equal 13 minus 8. So C is going to equal 5. Now, would you please answer the question? You can build 5 chairs and 4 tables. Is this right? We could be positive, couldn't we? 4 times 5 is 20. 8 times 4 is 32. 20 plus 32 is 52. 3 times 5 is 15. 2 times 4 is 8. 15 plus 8 is 23. Oh yeah, I'm absolutely sure that's the right answer, isn't it? Okay. Now, here's the difference for some people in meaningful variables and x and y. X and y, they're comfortable with. They use those all the time. Okay? But when we got here, solving for this, I had to go back over here to figure out which one was which before I could write my sentence. Okay? Meaningful variables, some people are uncomfortable with because we don't use other variables a lot besides x and y. But once I have my answers, I knew exactly that this was tables and this was chairs without having to look back. Do you see why some people like meaningful variables and some people like x and y? Okay, I just want you to choose. I'm not going to tell you which one to use. I want you to choose and use that one. Okay? Can we please do one more together? Number 11. Assorted nuts, bolts, and washers are packaged and sold. A package containing one nut, one bolt, and one washer costs 20 cents. Package containing 2 nuts, 2 bolts, and 4 washers costs 50 cents. Package containing 5 nuts and 4 bolts costs 70 cents. Find the price of a nut, a bolt, and a washer. Oh, yeah, you noticed that right away. You have 3 variables, so you're going to need at least 3 equations, aren't you? Okay. So first of all, we have to identify our variables. What are we going to use? Okay, so what letters would you like to use? So N for the cost of a nut, B for the cost of a bolt, and W for the cost of a washer. Did I repeat that correctly? Okay. So what are our equations going to be? So N plus B plus W equals what? So you want to use 20. Do you see why that might be confusing to some people? Because it's 20 cents, right? I'm okay with you using 20. You just have to remember that when we get our answers, okay? And we have to make sure all of them are in cents like this. We can't use 20 for this one and then the 0.5 for the next one. You see what I'm saying? Okay? All right, so what's the next one? Two N plus 2B plus 4W equals 50, yes? And the last one, somebody else? 5N plus 4B equals 70, is that what you said? Good. How do you want to solve this one? I would, right? I would use a calculator. So if we're using the calculator, how are we showing our work? We write the coefficient matrix first. So 1, 1, 1, 20, 2, 2, 4, 50, 5, 4, 0, 70. What else do I have to write if I'm showing my work for a matrix? Your answer matrix, okay? Go ahead and plug this in to your calculator. Substitute everything where it goes in your calculator. You do not, and I'll tell you why in just a second. This is what you guys wanted, so I'm going to show you something in just a second. So go ahead and put this in your calculator. Do I need to walk you through the steps? You think you got the steps now? You got it? Okay. Just in case. Okay, this is what my matrix looks like. Does yours look the same? So 1, 1, 1, 20, 2, 2, 4, 50, 5, 4, oh, 70. You're fine. You're fine. Just fix it. You know how to fix it real quick? Go here, up, up, and then just press enter. And then you just have to go change that to 70. Now, how do I write my answer? Oh, wait, how do you know that's 10 cents and not just 10 like dollars? Yeah, the context of the problem, right? You see it was okay for us to use 20 without having to worry about whether that was $20. We just have to take into account how our answers show up. So a nut costs 20 cents. A bolt costs 5 cents. And a washer costs, oh man, 5 cents. Oh, sorry, thank you. Good catch. A nut costs 10 cents, a bolt costs 5 cents, and a washer costs 5 cents. Yes? Any questions? Would you please circle the following problems? While we're on this page, just go ahead and circle 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Turn it back over to the one right before that and circle 8 and 9. And then to the very front, 3 and 4. Okay, so there's your 8 problems for homework, yes? Please don't forget that one of those 8 needs to be elimination, one of those 8 needs to be substitution, and one of those 8 needs to be a matrix. I don't care what you choose for the other 5. It could be all matrices, it could be a mix, okay? But you got to have at least one of the 3 main ones that we're doing, yes? Any questions?